Welcome to the Unplug Podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, Nicholas Pratley.
Mhm.
Nick is someone that we have shared with over 1 million people on Beachbody On Demand. You might have done his meditations where you feel the waves. And I'm so excited to just discuss with him what got him to where he is today. His journey is a unique one, and I can't wait for him to share it with all of you. Hi, Nick.
Hi, love. How are you? Thank you so
Good.
much for doing this.
Welcome. Welcome to the Unplugged podcast.
Thank you.
Um, all right, let's get into it. Where are you from? Let's start from there.
Yeah, I'm from Australia, Sydney, Australia. So the accent comes in and out, often in meditation because I get very relaxed and then it comes out. But I've been here 20 years now, so it's not as strong as it used to be.
And how did you get into this field? Because I know you grew up in Australia,
Yeah.
and I think your dad was someone who kind of ran spas. I'd love to hear that story.
Yeah, so my biological dad is a Chinese doctor and a Western doctor. He treats alternately, and or not alternatively, alternatively, not alternately. And my stepdad is in hotels and spas and casinos. And so my biological dad kind of woke up the, inner healer and all the that kind of practitioner side of me. And then my stepdad kind of gave me this foundation to create experiences and open up locations for people to come into to receive those modalities. So I kind of got the best of both worlds, the hospitality side of things as well as the healer side of things.
When you say my biological dad and my stepdad, what does that mean exactly?
My real dad, my biological dad, my mom and my dad never met, real dad never married. She
Mhm.
married my stepdad who adopted me when I was 5. So my three brothers and I have the same mom, different dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you grew up with both or not really?
No, I actually didn't meet my real dad until I was 18. And so from 0 to 5, it was my mom, my grandma, and then from 5 to 18, it was my dad, my stepdad, and my mom. And then when I was 18, I met who I call Papa, who calls me, um, when I was 18. And so I had had that healer vibe about me. I'd always loved taking care of people. I was really interested in the body. I was always talking about energy. And when I met him, it was like, oh, this is actually a. He worked with crystals and Chinese herbs and Ayurvedic herbs, and um, his practice was actually in his house, and he used to have people come into through his back door, and they would sit in the garden, and they'd go out into this little guest house in the back, and he'd treat them with acupuncture and had like walls full of herbs. It was like, oh my god, it makes sense now. Um, and that's actually when I first found breath work, and that's when I started exploring mindfulness, energy, massage, different healing modalities.
Through him, was he your teacher or
A little bit. He was mostly energy, breath work, and Taoist practices. And then I did meditation training. I did Qigong training. I did kinesiology, essential oils, flower essences. There wasn't really a time school that put it all together. So I did lots of different certifications, kind of finding my way in a way.
and tell me about your stepdad because he was more of a business person and he had spas, right? What was that like?
He ran hotels, and so spas were in the hotels or or the casinos. Yeah, he's an incredible businessman. He worked all over Southeast Asia, America, and he was the first man in Australia to regulate casinos. And he yeah, he's an amazing guy. We call him Santa Claus. He's a big, like, gruff, happy-go-lucky guy who really just wants to make everybody happy. He's awesome. But yeah, hotels and casinos was his focus. And one of the hotels in Sydney, there was a spa at the bottom of the hotel, and I helped him kind of curate and facilitate what the programming of that spa would be when it opened.
And you moved to the US, why? And how old were
Um,
you when you moved here?
I was 18 the first time around, 18, 19 the first time around. I went back and returned when I was about 22. I love Australia. I still love Australia. My family's down there. I love the country. I think it's so beautiful. I think it always felt so far from everything for me, and I wanted more. I wanted to explore. I wanted to. It just felt like, I think partly because my biological dad is French Italian and my mom is Chinese British. So even though I was Australian, I came from all these different places as well, and I don't look typically Australian, but then I didn't look fully Italian, and I didn't look fully Chinese either, and it felt like I never quite fit, you know,
Hmm.
and and so I always wanted more. I wanted to explore, and traveled a little bit, and decided LA was the place, and then I ended up meeting my husband, who I've been with for 14 years, and I've been here in LA for 20 years, and yeah, I like blinked, and now I have a child who just started kindergarten. She's 5. It's like, what? How did all that happen? But I love Australia. It just felt like there was more somehow, you know.
And when you came here, why did, like, what was the dream? What was your dream in the beginning?
I was originally acting and modeling, and but I always had a healing practice. I was always treating and doing Reiki or energy work, massage, um, neuro-linguistic programming, so a sort of hypnotherapy, breath work. I always had a healing practice. That was like a staple for me. No matter what I was doing, that was always there. And sometimes it was busier than others. Sometimes it was, if I was traveling, it wasn't so much of a focus, but it was always there. And when I came to America, I got a few really big jobs, and my representation was super excited. And I remember driving to the beach one day and thinking, "Wait, do I really want to do this? Why am I doing this?" And I drove past Yosan University, on Washington, the
Uh-huh.
Chinese medicine university, and I was like, I think I just want to do healing work, and it just like switched. And I called my team that day, and they were not happy about it, and that took some time to unfold. But yeah, it was just so clear that healing, mindfulness, energy was going to be my focus. And I've had some distractions since then, but for the most part, it's stayed very, very consistent.
And one of the distractions was Soul Cycle, which is actually how I found you,
Yeah,
through Julie and Elizabeth, who were running Soul Cycle. And you were there for how long were you teaching spin classes?
gosh, a long time. I mean, I was teaching spin for years before I started at Soul, and then Soul Cycle, I think, was 5 or 6 years.
Wow. Here in
Yeah,
LA.
in New York and LA. I started in New York,
Hmm.
um, and I think I was in New York for 2 years, and the rest was in LA. Yeah. And when
Wow.
I started in New York, there were 5 studios. When I left, there were 82. So I was very lucky to be there in the golden age of what we created there. Yeah. And I say distractions just because I mean it's all in the same vein, right? Whether it was Soul Cycle or Unplug, the intention has been to hold space for somebody to have their own transformation, right? So it's all been healing. There's just been, I guess I mean to say, there's been different iterations of what that healing looks like, right?
Right.
Um, yeah,
I
yeah,
love that.
amazing.
Love that.
And thank God for Soul, because that's how I met you.
Right. And I actually knew Soul Cycle when they were in I think it was like a funeral home on 72nd Street.
72nd Street on the
They
Upper
were
West
just
Side.
starting off.
Tiny, tiny. Yeah, it wasn't even a sign on the building out the front. You had to walk down that little alley.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
It was amazing. And one of the people that I worked with at Glamour Magazine was Amy Peck. And actually, I think it was Amy who told
Oh,
me about
I
it.
love Amy
So
Peck.
Amy and I worked together for, I don't know, like a long time with Glamour, doing a ton of TV work together.
Oh
And
man.
when I opened up the studio, I really looked to Soul Cycle a lot to kind of as a model that I was just so impressed by. So I was very excited to meet anyone who worked there because the people that work there I thought were just incredible. So that's found you.
Right?
And I mean, what has it been like teaching meditation at Unplug, like in the studio, on Beachbody, on what's the ripple been like?
Oh, it's been amazing. I love that feeling. I really miss being in the studio.
Mhm.
You know, um, it was a very similar feel to Soul Cycle, where it was a well-oiled machine, and you walk in, you do your thing, and all the support that's needed to um, let the teacher focus on what they're really there to focus on, which is to be of service.
Mhm.
All the support is there, and remember feeling like how consistent that was between Soul and Unplug. And then just the people at Unplug are just so freaking cool. It's a really beautiful. I get messages all the time or comments on social posts all the time. And it's been so beautiful teaching in the room, but also on the app. And then, of course, recently with Beachbody. And then we did a couple things at the Milken Conference and other things outside the studio. It's been really lovely. And the thing I love about Unplug people is that they're there to like just go to that space. Like let's just unplug and bask and bliss out and connect, and even if they don't know exactly what that meditation modality is, or if they're first time in doing breath work, or they're not sure about sound, it doesn't really matter kind of where they are in their journey. There's always this intention like, oh, I'm in this space to like unplug and clear so that I can go back to what I do renewed somehow. And it's such a beautiful, like if everybody's coming with that intention, that's freaking magic. And you don't get that in every community.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the ripple, if you're getting together with those people again and again and again, you're like, oh, this is my tribe. This is what it's supposed to feel like consistently. And then you look for that energy elsewhere. Um, because Soul Cycle was so amazing and had its similar version, but was very energized, which was awesome. And for me personally, I was just getting older. I wanted more, all those classes a week, 16, 10, 16, whatever it was, classes a week.
Right.
My body was like, okay, I think I'm done with that. I want something more chill. And then I found you.
Amazing. So you've always been on the pulse of the future of wellness. I really feel like you kind of are tapped in. What do you think is the future of wellness, in your opinion? Do you think we're going to be going back to the studios? Do you think we're going to be seeing more digital? Are we going to be physical and digital? I'm kind of curious as to where you see everything going.
Oh man, it's a really good question. It's so funny because I feel like I used to be so clear. I could answer that question like that.
Right.
Um, I do think it'll be a hybrid. I think it'll be both. And I think we're going to see a real um, kind of movement, if you will. Like whatever the new model is, I think it's going to become a real thing,
Mhm.
whether it's like presenting Zoom calls in a completely different way, where there's like chats on the side and logos up the top and moving things in the background. I don't know. Like, if we look at this digital platform, as simply as Zoom presents it, I think part of the like the consumer being enticed is going to be part of that experience. Like, where else can this go? Can it be less 2D and more interesting, more engaging? But I think we're coming back to a time where people are starved and they want community and they want to feel that in person, but they also don't want to do it all the time. I think a lot of people have become really comfortable with being at home, so in person, online, but up leveling the online experience. And then also, how are, like, us as Unplug, I feel like the question becomes, how are we creating a digital community in a way that isn't really being done? Because anybody can have a subscription list, but, are there, I'm making stuff up in this moment, but let's say there's like
We love that.
a traveling retreat or something, and then all the people in Germany that meditate with us, or in Portugal that meditate with us, have an opportunity to gather, right? So that's kind of this blend between digital and in person, but not the typical, like, we're not hearing about traveling live events to, like, amplify the digital impact. But I think it's going to be something like that, it's like pushing the envelope and going where we haven't really been before.
I'm feeling more like this appeal of real. I feel like we've been on this digital path for such a long time. And yes, people still want to meditate from their beds. Great. We can provide the, hybrid class. But I think there's going to be some kind of like, almost like exclusivity, because your pod is going to have to be a little bit smaller than it was. Like, we can't like slam like sardines 100 people into the room again. It's
Right.
going to be a little bit more of an exclusive physical experience. And when I say exclusive, I don't mean financial. I don't mean, socioeconomic. I just mean like smaller
Yeah.
and good energy, and
Uh-huh.
making sure that the people that come into the space are the energy that we want to bask with.
Yeah.
So I'm actually feeling that in a big way. I'm really excited to actually reopen small. And I know that there's some sound bath people who are just like, they don't want to do the online because it just doesn't sound as good. And they're ready to get
Right.
back
Yeah.
in the vibes.
Oh, I just got chills. That's going to be
Yeah,
good.
I don't know. I mean, this is what I'm feeling. This is what we're going to be doing in June.
I love that we've been doing sound baths on the beach.
It's great, but I'll tell you something. There are some issues with it, because you've got the random person walking down the beach who's like, we've
Right.
got beach volleyball.
What are you doing?
You can't prevent all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So that's very exciting. So you are doing some weird stuff on the side. What is that? I've been seeing these videos of you with, it feels like you're either in a fish tank or in front of a fish tank. What's up? What is that?
Yeah, I was shooting some meditations with a production partner of mine, and there's this huge LED screen that has these beautiful visuals. I'm always kind of doing something here and there with different things. We wrapped that production. I'll be doing stuff with Unplugged more again soon. But I'm writing my book. I'm spending time with family.
Ooh, what's the title of your book?
It's called The Luminous Human.
Ooh,
Yeah.
we want that. We're going to blow it up. What, are you kidding me? Everybody should pre-order it now. It's not even written.
Love it. I love it.
Get
Do
it
it.
before it's even
Right, come on.
written,
I love it.
right?
You were the marketing guru. I need to sit
I'm
down.
not kidding. You guys get on the wait list. It's not even written yet. And if you should have your audience help you write it, that would be cool. They can
Yeah.
actually write in what they how they want to be luminous. Like we all want to shine.
Yeah.
In fact, I have to tell you something. I just heard this the other day. There is a professor at Stanford who studies behavioral science. His name is BJ Fogg, and he wrote the book Tiny Habits.
Yeah.
And in his book, he talks about the fact in this country, in English, there is no word for that feeling you get when you succeed. So he actually coined that term shine as the feeling you get when you feel successful.
I like that.
And when I think of luminous, it's kind of that same feeling. It's that glow. It's
Yeah.
an inner glow that you feel when you feel successful in everything you do. And I don't mean success, traditional success, but just like I took a breath today, success.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. So it all stems from, I love that you said that because it makes me want to share what that word really came from for me, which is luminous energetics, this body of work that I've been working on for the past, 15, 20 years, and helping people understand how their intelligence, their luminous intelligence inside is always guiding them, and if we're listening to that energy, if we're listening to that intelligence, it actually directs us. It's when we don't listen to it or think it's too big or scary and we run away from it that we disconnect from that energy. When we're in a relationship to our energy, we're in a relationship to everything. When we're connected to our energy, we're connected to everything. And when we're disconnected, it doesn't mean that we're disconnected from everything, but we're less connected to who we really are, to our luminosity, to our light, to what is actually true for us, not what we think we should be doing or need to be doing, but who we are by nature. And so the book is reconnecting us to those tools and those truths that are actually very, very accessible and very simple. For example, one of the things that I'm always doing is guiding people into what they perceive as the negative energy or the lower vibration. And I say our perceived energy or emotion, energy, whatever they're coining it as, because our perception is that there's good and bad when really there's just the whole, right? If we segment it and leave a part of ourselves out, then there's disconnection, there's separation. And we say that we want wholeness, we want to feel complete, we want to feel whole, we want to feel who we really are. And so the perception that there's a bad emotion is asking for us to breathe into it. So to put a hand on the body, see where we feel it, hold it like we would a newborn child or our child, right? Like the child sits in your lap, it cries, it processes the emotion, goes back to playing, totally fine. But it needed that moment, it needed to be held and loved and acknowledged. And so to do that for ourselves, to like, where's that emotion sitting? Wherever it is,
right.
Breathe into it, let go into it, hold yourself, and then it starts to process in its own way. Emotion is just energy in motion, and it has its cycle sometimes that just needs your attention. And we think it's much bigger than it really is sometimes because we're avoiding it for the most part because we're not taught to let go into it. And so just a very, very simple energy hack, biohack, if you will, to reconnect to our energy. Because that feels, even in the discomfort, that feels way, way better than ignoring it. Because that builds up and then starts screaming at us later.
Yes, you are so right. And shows up in different ways in your body.
Right. And in life, everywhere, right? It's disease in the body, it's in the relationship, it's in life in general. Why am I not creating this thing? Why is it not flowing? We need to breathe into our energy so that we let the energy flow and then everything else follows, not the other way around.
I love that. I'm so excited to read your book. When is it coming out?
Me too. I don't know. I'll let you know.
I'm like, okay, we got to write this thing. We're going to publish it. We're going to make the cover, and then we got to get it out into the world. Very excited.
It won't be too long. I think I'll have a strong handle over in the next 3 to 4 months or so.
That's great. That's great. Well, I'm so excited that we got to catch up and hear
Yeah.
about what's happening. And for anyone who's watching this and listening to this, you have to try meditation with Nick Pratley. It is phenomenal. He changes lives on a daily basis, and you can read the crazy, incredible comments that are written. I don't know if you ever read them, Nick, but you should read what people are writing on the Unplug app about your meditation.
I have. I need to go on there again and update myself, but I appreciate you saying that so much. Thank you.
Yeah, if you ever need a ego boost, just go and look at your comments. Thank you again for coming on to the podcast, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Mwah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.